Hi, this is an introduction to my podcast, Police Stories. Not the most imaginative name, I understand, but ultimately that pretty much covers what it does. My name's Dave. I was in the UK Police, British Police Force service for 28 and a half years. Unusually, I travelled around a bit and actually served in 3 different forces. And this really is a series of fairly short podcasts, I suspect, with the odd exception, about incidents that I've been involved in my service. Several people have said that they like my stories, and I've got a few stories. I'm quite lucky in that I've served in quite a few specialist units that probably the public don't have a lot of knowledge about, so hopefully you'd find this interesting. I say lucky, but the reality is those units don't come looking for you. You know, you have to apply, and there's quite a rigorous selection process, and you have to jump through quite a few hoops to serve in those units. So, as I say, 28 and a half years, and like all UK cops, I served my first few years on the beat, as it were, which is pretty much what everyone within the UK forces have to do. Then I moved on to firearms and was involved quite heavily in the firearm side of things. I served on armed response vehicles, ARVs, and then on to a slightly different level of firearms, which is an SFO, a specialist firearms officer. Of course, now you have CTSFOs, counter-terrorist specialist firearms officers, which I never was, because during my time they weren't called that, and that kind of didn't exist. That was something that came along a little bit later. And through the firearms, I also then did some close protection work, looking after various people like prime ministers and royals. So I can talk a little bit about that. And then I moved forces and went back on to working just on response on the beat again, if you like, and worked in probably one of the busiest places in the country. And got a few stories from there, and then moved on to a marine unit on the River Thames, and served 10 years on the River Thames, and 8 of those as a police diver. So again, certainly got some stories for those. Then after 12 years or so there, moved on to another force, and have finished up my last 3-year service or so in counter-terrorism. So be able to talk a little bit about that, although obviously I'm sure you can appreciate limited as to what we can say around some of that. One of the things I just wanted to talk about is sort of perception and visualization of people you work with, particularly at the same instance of you. One thing they really push on the firearms training, it's very important about what you're seeing and obviously then how you react to it. But the point they really make is, if you're doing an exercise, for example, of which we did hundreds of, literally the person shoulder to shoulder with you can see different things to you, and react in different ways. So it's quite interesting. After the exercises and live incidents, there'll always be a debrief, and where everyone will discuss kind of what their role was and why they did certain things and what they saw. And it's really interesting during the training as well. They'll get you to write statements of evidence about what you saw and how you reacted, and then we'll sit down and compare those after the exercise. And it's really interesting that the person literally standing shoulder to shoulder with you can see something completely different. And afterwards you can be like, I had no idea that happened. I did not see that at all, because I was looking at such and such, at a slightly different angle. And likewise, the person beside you didn't see what you saw. And the point that comes across there is that it's entirely individual. So some of the stories I'll tell you about, some of the incidents that we'll discuss, there may be officers there that would, have a different viewpoint to me and possibly not agree with my version of events. But this is my podcast, so I will tell you what I saw and heard and see what you think. But hopefully it'll be interesting. As I say, I'll leave that up to you whether you think it is or not. And after you've heard the first story, I aim to put out around about one story a week. And I've got quite a few of them, so we can keep going for a while. See what you think, and if you like what you're hearing, then please subscribe, and we'll see how we go. Okay, take it easy. See ya.